to North Carolina, got an account in New Jersey, Florida, individual clients like all over the place and stuff. So, yep. Yeah. So I'm down here in Peachtree City, Georgia. Hopefully I'll be up there soon. I know me and Jake were talking about having me come out there in person after New Year's. So we're going to revisit that after New Year's.
Now, do you do any seminars, or is it Zoom-based mostly like this?
I do seminars. I haven't been invited to do a seminar, but I definitely do them. I've done usually people invite me to do speeches, like I did a commencement speech for drug court graduation, but seminars, PowerPoints, like large groups. Yeah, I do. I would love, that would be amazing to have an opportunity like that,
Yeah.
So, but maybe one day. I just got to keep on doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just got to stay consistent, and one thing will eventually lead to another. So I feel, going back to what we were just talking about, like I feel like I'm doing the right thing. Like I don't know, I feel like what I'm doing is aligned with who I am, where I'm supposed to be. I'm making enough money to support the family, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know how what I'm doing now is going to set me up where I'm going to be. You know what I mean? But I'm pretty, I don't need to know that. I just need to know what I'm doing is the right thing and continue to like do the next right thing, whatever that is. So, yep. Hell yeah. Yeah, I never thought I'd be doing this shit. I was working at like a detox center. It was like the worst place I ever worked at. And they had me running groups like all day. And I remember being like, why the fuck am I doing this, dude? Like, why the hell does God have me at this horrible place working, doing this? You know what I mean? Why doesn't he have me doing something else? And, back then you don't understand. You're just asking the question. And then then my life ends up falling into this, and you start to see how those moments in the past were just setting me up to become this person and set me up for this. So I don't know how what I'm doing now is going to play into where I'm going to be a couple years from now, but I already know that that's how it works. So I don't like question or anything. I just like stay consistent and keep on doing the right thing. So where the hell is everybody? They're what?
What was saying? I see you over here. Are you ready to start the group back?
All right. Welcome back. Happy to have you here. We are going, I don't know if I'm going to take you all the way to 3. I might take you to like 2:45-ish or something like that, but we will see how it goes on that journey of getting there. I don't think we're going to get into 11 step, but we should probably do a little bit of like some talking about it. Right versus wrong shouldn't take too long. And then we're going to go over a little bit of some of the questions, show you guys what the inventory looks like, 2 types of them. And you can choose whichever one you want to use. And then from there, we'll probably do a brief summary on the 11th step. We saw through prayer, meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will and the power to carry that out. But until then, we're getting into right and wrong. So as we continue to take this daily inventory and monitor our feeling, our thinking, and our behavior, we start to see and question whether or not it's right or wrong for me to do that. Is it right or wrong for me to feel this? And if I'm not taking an inventory on this, it's pretty quickly, these things may get out of hand and people end up relapsing and having all types of, whoops, that's not what I wanted to share. All types of issues. There it is. Okay. 10th step tells us that we have to promptly admit when we are wrong. This step seems to assume that we know when we're wrong, but the fact is that most of us don't, at least not right away. So not only are we trying to monitor when we are right and wrong, but when we're wrong, we need to promptly admit that we were wrong and try to make any amends to that harm. So let's say I feel, depressed, and what I'm doing is causing my depression. Is it right or wrong for me to feel that? Maybe it's wrong. Do I make amends? And how do I promptly amend this wrong? Or how do I promptly make amends to the things that I'm doing that are causing me to be depressed? It takes the consistent practice of taking a personal inventory for us to become proficient at figuring out when we're wrong. Let's face it. When we are new in recovery, we have been at odds with the rest of the world for some time. As the basic text says, our living skills were reduced to the animal level. We didn't know how to communicate with others well. We began to learn in recovery, but in that process made a lot of mistakes. Many of us went through a period of time when we became very rigid about the values we had developed in recovery. We applied that rigidity not only to ourselves, but to everyone else around us. We thought it was principled and correct to confront those whose behavior was unacceptable. In truth, it was our behavior that was unacceptable. We were self-righteous and overbearing. We were wrong. So this is having us literally have to change our perspective to brainstorm and imagine how I might be wrong. Or some of us, after years of serving as a doormat for everyone to walk across, decided our recovery required that we become assertive. But we went too far. We demanded that everyone treat us perfectly all the time. No one could have a bad day and fail to return our phone call. No one was allowed to be emotionally unavailable to us for any length of time. We angrily demanded perfect service at the places we did business. We weren't being assertive. We were being immature and belligerent. We were wrong. We can even end up being wrong if someone hurts us. How? Say our sponsor says something very hurtful to us. Instead of taking it up with our sponsor, we talk to 10 or 12 of his closest friends at the next 3 meetings we go to. Before the week is through, half of our community is talking about the rotten thing so-and-so said to one of his sponsees, and that's if the story even stayed as it was originally. So the situation started out with us having done no wrong, but ended up with us being responsible for damaging our sponsor's reputation in the program, the place where he needs just as much as we do to be allowed to make mistakes and recover at his own pace. Like, just because I'm feeling this thing doesn't necessarily mean I need to do anything. Maybe because I'm feeling some way, maybe I just need to take my own personal inventory. Have there been times in my recovery or just in life when I've been wrong and not aware of it until later? Have there been times in your life where you've been wrong and not aware of it until later? Have there been times in my recovery or my life when I've been wrong and not been aware of it until later? Think about that. And give me an answer if you got
I'm
one.
just trying to pinpoint.
You trying to think of one?
No, I said I know there's been plenty, but I'm just trying to pinpoint a particular thing.
I'll give a very humbling answer. There was one time, my girl, we had a baby, and I remember my girl, like a couple months after we had a baby, my girl was depressed, dude. She like was visibly depressed. Her eating was weird. Her like self-care was off. We weren't having sex and stuff like that. And I was like, this is fucking weird. You know what I'm saying? And I came to her like, what is wrong with you, dude? Like, can you fucking like do the dishes? Can you like do something? You know what I mean? And she fucking looks at me like I'm a piece of shit, dude. And she's like, looking at me like, dude, like, fuck you, bro. And I'm like, fuck me, dude. I'm not the one going through this shit. And yada, like, you're the one who's not doing this, that, and the third. I was like, if I'm doing something wrong, you tell me. And she's like, I have postpartum depression, you piece of shit. And I was like, oh my God, dude. I am such a scumbag, bro. Like, how selfish of me to only be considering and thinking about my feelings, what I have going on, etc., etc. You know what I mean? It's just a super selfish way. And I didn't realize I was wrong until after I already behaved some way. And here I am trying to like make up some damage that's already been done, right? Have you guys ever found yourself in a situation like that? And afterwards you feel like this fucking big, dude, you know? What was it? That video I showed last week was of David Foster Wallace commencement speech, right? And he said, maybe the woman in the checkout line is acting that way because she was up all night taking care of her husband who's dying of bone cancer. And when you treat people a certain way to realize they're behaving the way they are because of something like that, and you realize that's wrong, you shouldn't do that, that is we'll call it humbling experience, you know? And I don't need to be humbled in those ways. Like, I know these answers. It's up to me to be consciously aware of this. Like, I should be aware of this. I should know this stuff, but I get so focused on what I want, what my interests and desires are, that I lose sight of other people's emotions and other people's needs. How do when you're wrong, right? How does you being wrong affect your life? What was that one? Horribly? Is that what I heard?
It's a hard question.
It's a hard question. Why? Just think about it. What do you think? Like, let's say you, for the next year, there's the right decision and there's the wrong decision. Where would you be in 1 year if you made every single wrong decision? How would those wrong decisions affect your life? Probably be fucking dead or in jail, dude. Doing the wrong thing will affect my life pretty fucking bad, dude. How does you doing the wrong thing affect other people's lives? Like, who gets affected from you doing every wrong thing from now until a year from now?
Probably people that you care about.
All the people you care about. Parents, kids, friends, siblings, nephews, nieces, uncles, aunts. They all get impacted by that. And it's like, well, how do my rights affect my life? Like, when you do the right thing, how does that affect your life?
Positive way.
And it must affect the lives of other people in a positive way too, right?
Hopefully.
Like, if I do the right thing, hopefully other people get to benefit from the right thing that I've been doing, right? Like, if I make the right choices in my recovery, hopefully my family gets to benefit from that too. If I make the right choices in my diet and exercise, hopefully my kids get to benefit from that too, right? Hopefully I get to stick around a little bit longer, et cetera, et cetera. These rights and wrongs impact our lives in much larger ways than small ones. We think they're not that big of a deal. We may just think that making this small wrong decision is no big deal. But you gotta know that when you make the decision to do something wrong that you know is wrong, you are consciously and willingly volunteering yourself for some fuck shit to happen, dude. That's the only way I can describe that. Is fuck shit, right? Whatever you want to, however you identify that specifically in your life, you can take that to the bank. But if you're doing every wrong thing, where does doing the wrong thing go from? Like, which wrong thing is ultimately the decision maker? Like, which wrong thing led me to get to this point? If you're not keeping track of that, you're never going to know. And you're going to have to do a big inventory to get that discovery. That's where the daily inventory comes in. Hopefully, you can identify some wrong stuff you're doing and the potential for problems it can cause before those problems occur, before those wrongs add up and you have to go around and start making amends again and adding people to the list of harm you caused. I'm not saying you're not going to make amends, but the last thing you want to do is amend for some stuff that you know is wrong. If you have to go around and make an amends for something that you're aware is wrong, the feeling you're feeling is shame. That's literally the definition of shame. So if someone fails to amend wrong behavior, they are failing to be vulnerable and confront their shame. And that shit will add up. And you'll have to take an inventory of it if you want to work through it. Okie dokie, artichoke. We're moving on into the actual inventory. It's hard enough to figure out when we're wrong. Admitting our wrongs can be even more challenging. Just like in the 9th step, we have to be careful that what we aren't doing more damage by making the admission. For instance, many of us realize we've hurt someone close to us, perhaps because the person stopped speaking to us, but we aren't quite sure what we said or did wrong. Rather than taking time to reflect on what we might have done or ask the person, we decided we'll just cover up all eventualities and make a blanket admission. We approach the person and say, please forgive me for anything I've ever, in all the time we've known each other, done to offend or hurt you. This step requires that we take the time for personal reflection for instances just like this. Chances are that if we think about when the person's attitude towards us changed and think about our behavior immediately preceding that change, we'll know what we did wrong. It might be painful or embarrassing to think about. It definitely takes effort, but so do all these steps. Laziness is a character defect just like any other one, and we can't afford to act on it. Then again, if we're truly stumped, if we just can't pinpoint anything we might have said or done that was harmful, there's nothing wrong with approaching that person and saying we've noticed that he or she seems to be angry or upset with us, that we care about our relationship with that person, and we want to hear what he or she has to say. Most of us are afraid of what we'll hear in that situation like this, but we can't let the fear stop us from working this step. There's another way we can render our admission of wrong completely ineffective. Admit we're wrong, then immediately point out what the other person did first that made us act as we did. For instance, say if one of our children used poor manners, so we yell at her and call her a name. Now, when we admit we're wrong, if we tell our child that her behavior made us act the way we did, we've just delivered a message that justified our first wrong, thus making ourselves doubly wrong. Unlike the process contained in 4 through 9, we can go through events from our past. This is designed to keep us current. We don't want to let unresolved wrongs pile up. We need to try our very best to stay abreast of what we're doing. Most of the work will be done by making constant adjustments to our outlook. If we find ourselves becoming negative and complaining all the time, we might want to spend some time thinking about things for which we're grateful. We need to pay attention to the way we react when we've done something wrong. Is it our first impulse to make an excuse? Are we claiming to be victims of someone's negative influence or of our disease? All excuses aside, we are responsible for what we do. It may very well be that our character defects got the better of us, but that doesn't excuse our behavior. We need to accept responsibility to be willing to have our shortcomings removed. When you were wrong and promptly admitted, what does it mean to promptly admit, like when we're wrong and promptly admitted it? What does that mean to you?
I mean, once you are fully aware that what you've done is wrong, you don't give all around about, taking accountability for what you've done and you try to just blow it off or, make little of the situation, or like you would like make excuses for why you did that instead of that what you did was wrong, and it's just that you did wrong. And you can't make excuses like, well, I did that because that doesn't justify why you did something wrong. You take full accountability for the fact you did something wrong.
Right.
It's a change of behavior.
You have to change the behavior, though.
What was that?
What did you say? You have to change the behavior, though.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. And I mean, like, you ever been in a situation where you're arguing with someone and in the middle of the argument, you discover you're actually wrong? And then you ever find yourself like, fuck, I can't admit it now. So you're like defending the wrong idea and you're like, no, it's wrong. Yeah, that is insane. When we do that, like, people look at us, and sometimes people don't commit. They just like David was describing. They'll be like, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. They'll just cast it off. They'll walk away or whatever the case may be. And it's like, dude, just admit you're wrong. Just like say it. People just will not admit it. It's like, yo, just say you're an addict. No, I'm not an addict. Blah, 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 blah. How dare you fucking say that, you scumbag piece of shit. You're a fucking addict. You're an alcoholic. Yada, yada, yada. Right? Next question is, have there been times in my recovery where I've made situations worse by talking to someone before I should have or blaming my behavior on someone else? Have there been times in my recovery when I've made situations worse by talking to someone before I should have or blaming my behavior on someone else? Like, before, that's why talking to a sponsor and talking to someone about these things is helpful. Maybe they say, hey, yeah, maybe you don't make that amends yet. You know what I mean? Maybe don't go running out there trying to make that amends yet. Maybe you don't go do that right now. You know what I mean? Maybe give it some time or whatever the case may be. Maybe it may take some time or another person to show us our part in whatever's happening, our part in what we're feeling, or our part in the situation that played through. And if I'm unable to see that on my own, I need something else, some power greater than myself to facilitate that thinking and that consciousness. So now, and how does promptly admitting you're wrong help you change your behavior? Like, if every single time you're wrong, you have to make an amends, how would that help you change your behavior? Like, that sucks, dude, admitting you're wrong. That shit sucks. You know what I mean? Like, if I have to get the fuck out of here, dude. My dog is like all over me. If I have to admit that I'm wrong every single time, then maybe I won't do some shit that is wrong because I don't want to fucking say I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Maybe it causes me to think twice because, dude, I'm not going to say I'm sorry about that shit again. You know what I mean? I'm just going to go ahead and do it. That way I'm not running into that problem again. Which is really good. You're seeing the shame of having, and the shame, embarrassment, and humiliation of having to say I'm sorry is more valuable and is more painful than actually doing the wrong behavior and the feeling that would come out of it or whatever. So instead of telling someone and arguing, you manage your emotions and you say, yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? It's easier for us to just take the high road or whatever the case may be in some instances. Maybe that's how we demonstrate this, you know? But constantly admitting that you're wrong sucks, dude. That's not fun. You know, I don't want to put myself continuously through that. Okay. And how often should I take this personal inventory? Well, I think we should take this inventory until it becomes second nature. You know what I mean? I think you should practice this until you no longer have to like sit down and write these answers down and get to these questions. Hopefully you get so good at taking a personal inventory and thinking about your decisions and understanding your feeling and doing and right and wrong in the moment, so you don't have to at the end of the day take that daily inventory. Now, how long is this going to take? I don't know. I've been tracking the food and the exercises that I've been doing for 4 years. So how long is this going to take? I don't know. But I'll tell you, having it is more beneficial than not having it. You know, just because I don't, there have been times where I have not tracked my eating and stuff like that. And those times are when I fall off course. You know, maybe I won't fall off course if I stay on top of these things. Now, what is the inventory? I'm going to show you guys what the inventory looks like. These are the questions. Now, there's I'm going to show you two inventories. One is in the Step Working Guide itself, This is the one that's found in step 10 in the step working guide. A lot of it has to do with a higher power. Before it gets into like a personal inventory, a lot of it has to do with a relationship with a higher power. The inventory that you do out of the information pamphlet is less about a higher power. So we're going to look at the two, and then I'm going to show you guys a video on meditation, because what you're doing here is meditating and thinking deeply about your day. And what I want to show you is the power that can be generated from doing this type of meditation. Did I ever show you guys the video of Sam Harris talking about the hand, the fist going to a hand? Did you ever, this look familiar, me talking about this? No? Tavian, you might have seen it. You recall that video? The fist going to the hand?
I think so.
You think so? I might have shown it. Okay. I may have. I'm going to show you guys some Sam Harris video. They might know who Sam Harris is. Okay. I'm going to show you.
Comedian?
No, he's a philosopher. He's been on Joe Rogan podcast. He has an app on meditation. He's done exploration on meditation. He has books on meditation. He's a doctor of philosophy at Stanford University. So this guy, he's a beast. He's got a podcast called Making Sense, and he has a really good podcast episode, a 4.5-hour episode on meditation on the Huberman Lab podcast. So I don't know if you guys know what the Huberman Lab podcast is. It is like the #1 podcast right now for science. It's outstanding. And I cannot speak enough about his interview with Andrew Huberman's interview with Sam Harris. Like, if this interests you, you have to listen to this shit. It is like so interesting. And we're going to watch a little bit of it today. But this is it. What has God done? What have I done to be of service to God? Do I see any old patterns in my life today? Have I been resentful, selfish, dishonest, afraid? Have I set myself up for disappointment? Have I been kind and loving toward all? Have I been worried about yesterday or tomorrow? Did I allow myself to become obsessed by anything? Too hungry, lonely, or tired? Did I take myself too serious? You can see all these. Suffer problems. All these questions. Now, every day, you are to answer these questions. And hopefully, over a period of time, you can see patterns in the answers, maybe prevent things from happening before they happen, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a lot. I'm not going to go through every single question, but there's a lot of questions. I mean, if you want to go through it, I encourage you to check it out. The other thing we're going to look at, let me show you this. There it is. And this is the information pamphlet. So you can get this at like any NA meeting. Typically, they have them up front for free. It's the same, pretty much the same thing. It's broken down in the Just for Today. So it breaks down using the Just for Today, and you answer the questions. At the end of the questions, you share with someone. If you want to share this information with someone, you do so verbally. You're not doing it text message or, you're doing so verbally. So you're not handing it to someone for them to read. You're reading it to someone. You see what I'm saying? Again, I'm not going to go through all these questions. There's a shit ton of questions. So, again, this is a tool for you to use to keep track of the data of your recovery, monitor your feelings, your behaviors, and your thoughts, and track those so you can build an association between what you're feeling and what you're doing. And as you do that, we begin to pray and meditate. Like it's weird, but this is the very beginning in basics of prayer and meditation. I'm going to show you guys. Oh, that's what it was. Last week I was going to show this video and it said like the secret to life. And you were like, oh, what the fuck is that, dude? I want to watch that video or something. And I was like, wait, was that in here? I think that was in here. You're like,
yeah, that was me.
Yeah, right. You were like,
Yeah.
I want to watch that
Sam
video.
Harris.
Yeah, and I was like,
Sam Harris.
that's right. Yeah. That's Sam Harris. I said, oh, we'll
Yeah.
watch that next week. I think I said, right?
Cool. Yeah. That's right.
That's what we're watching. So there's 2 videos I'm going to show you. That is one of them. And now what I'm talking about here is combining the inventory with meditation. So asking yourself these questions leads and is a meditation process in itself. Should be sharing my sound. Okay.
At IHG Hotels and Resorts all-inclusive offering, Ibero-Star Beachfront Resorts.
The superpower you're after, which you actually can acquire through this practice, is to realize that virtually all of your psychological suffering, and actually arguably virtually all of your physical suffering, I mean, the difference between physical pain and suffering, which, I mean, those two are not quite the same thing, is a matter of being lost in thought. It's a matter of thinking without knowing that you're thinking. And what mindfulness does, and really any technique of meditation ultimately should do, is teach you to break the spell of being lost in thought and to notice a thought as a thought. I mean, the huge difference is, until you learn how to meditate or do something like meditation, you're just helplessly thinking every moment of your life. You're having a conversation with yourself. You're having content, whether it's imagistic or linguistic, pour forth into consciousness every moment, and so incessantly that you don't even notice it. It's just white noise. And not only does it completely color your experience moment to moment. So like if they're angry thoughts, you're angry. If they're depressed thoughts, you're depressed. If they're sad, you're sad. So you become your thoughts, but you also feel identified. You feel that you are the thinker of your thoughts. You feel like a self, and it's completely structured by this flow of mentation every moment. And it produces everything you do. It produces all of your intentions and your goals and your actions. And he said this about me, and now I'm going to say this. And so it's like it's everything coming out of you is born of this same process. And meditation is a way of recognizing that consciousness and that what you are subjectively is this prior condition of just awareness in which everything is showing up: sounds, sensations, and thoughts. And thoughts can become just other objects of consciousness. And so, I mean, to take even a very basic example of the difference between pain and suffering, you can feel very strong physical pain, I mean, unpleasant pain, and just be aware of it. In that, like, the sense that it's unbearable is virtually always untrue, because in that moment you've already borne it, right? I mean, the feeling that something's unbearable is really the fear of having to experience it in the next moment in the future, right? Because you're always like, if someone drives a nail into your knee, right? You might, well, that sounds like it's unbearable, but every moment you're feeling it, you're bearing it, right? It's like it's what you're thinking about is the last moment and the next moment. Then you're thinking about how much, when am I going to get some relief, and what's the cure, and how badly is my knee injured, and it's like you're worried about the future continuously, and you're not noticing the automaticity of thought that is amplifying the negativity of the experience in that moment. And we all know that you can have super intense sensation, which is either pleasant or unpleasant depending on the conceptual frame you've put around it. So, for instance, if you had this massive sense of soreness in your shoulder, you would experience it very differently if it was the result of you deadlifting more than you ever had in your life and you were proud of it, right? B, probably cancer, and you're waiting for your, the biopsy results, and you're worried about, this is the thing that's going to kill you, or you're getting rolfed, like some deep tissue massage, and it hurts like hell, but you actually totally understand the source of the pain, and you know it's going to be gone the moment the guy pulls his elbow back, right? So it could be the exact same sensation in each one of those, but the conceptual frame you have around it totally dictates the level of psychological suffering, it can dictate the total absence of psychological suffering.
Now, we were talking before the podcast started about your apps